Way to go. Keep it going. Good job, guys. All right, Paul. I see you. All right, Travis. Finish on. Good call.
Good morning and welcome to Monday. Welcome to Monday, the 16th of September. I hope the weekend was absolutely awesome and that you're really ready to hook straight into a weekend where, a week where you really want to achieve some magical milestones. Let me just focus our talk today around the concept of energy and what we control. So, and I'm going to talk about that in respect of the weekend that I've just had, because I think it allowed me some serious reflection on this concept of energy and this concept of using the energy as best we can. So firstly, on Friday night, I sat there with my son, and my son's older, and we watched the Boomers in their semi-final match against Spain. And the winner of that semi-final went through to play off for the gold medal. Now, the Boomers are an Australian basketball team. They've never had a medal before in any major competition. So there was a lot riding on this. They've been playing really well. They're undefeated in the competition, et cetera, et cetera. So what I found really interesting during this particular game, now I'm not a basketball fanatic. My son enjoys his basketball a lot more than I do, but getting caught up in the whole momentum around that particular game. So the Boomers led by about 11 points at one stage. Spain came back. There were two lots of double overtime, and ultimately Spain won. So you can imagine, I'm up off my chair, I'm standing, I'm cheering them home every shot that the Boomers had. So I'm putting energy into me supporting the Boomers, which is good as long as it's fun. The next day I got up and I went for a 5-kilometre run with my wife. Now I wasn't feeling the most energetic, but I controlled that. So I had control over the energy that I expanded. So I went out there and I did my run, and I felt so much better for it. I didn't really want to do it, but I did it. So it was energy. I placed that energy into something that I didn't want to do. Now on Saturday night, you're going to think I watch a lot of sport. I went to the Lions game, the Brisbane Lions game at the Gabba, and once again, the Lions have had an amazing season, and I've sort of started to enjoy watching AFL because of the type of football that the Lions play. Once again, went straight down to the wire, and I'm watching everyone around me and myself getting caught up in the emotion. The Lions are leading by 3 points coming into the last minute or so. No one knows at the game essentially how long is left on the clock because of some unwritten rule in AFL. So you're sitting there, you're full of anticipation, you're full of anxiety. You're sitting there and you're just hoping that the boys can get home. The Greater Western Giants, they kicked a goal with about a minute left and game over. Once again, a lot of energy being expanded, not just by me, but by the 30,000 people within the crowd. And then ultimately over something that you have very little control over. So, okay, good game, great game, good season, Lions, and away you go. The next morning, Sunday morning, 21 kilometres we ran. It was our big run leading into the Melbourne Marathon. And once again, full control. I had full control over that. There were times that my legs were hurting. There were times that I had anxiety around how my calves were going to actually cooperate with me. I've torn my left calf about 3 times this year running. And just for good measure, I tore my right one early. So full of anxiety, full of, I haven't really trained sufficient. I mean, my training wasn't targeted for a 20-kilometre run, But Saturday was what I call my fitness test. If I could get through that, I'm going to now target the Melbourne Marathon, which is just 4 weeks away. So, but full control. I had full control over that. Everything that I could do, I did. I concentrated, I focused, I concentrated on my style, my running, my smoothness. I'm trying to keep disruptions to my style to a minimum. So I just wanted to get into, say, momentum. And ultimately, I completed the 21K. So pretty happy with that. Went home, did a really good rolling session on my legs. Anyone who's run knows that there's a huge amount of lactic acid buildup in your legs. So I went home, I did some really good rolling sessions. And this morning I got up again and went for a 5K walk. So feeling pretty good about that because, once again, I had control. Watched a little bit of the supercars yesterday, sitting on the bench, sitting on the couch, rolling my legs. And there was a safety car debacle, right? Once again, completely out of my control. It actually favoured the drivers that I actually that I like, Scott McLaughlin. So, overall I wasn't too fussed. But to see all the anger that was being exhibited by people online in relation to that decision, that debacle, was really quite interesting. Outside of your control, there's not much point expanding energy in that, but so many people do that. And then finally the Broncos, and the Broncos were absolutely annihilated by Parramatta, 58-0, very embarrassing effort. So much so that I turned it over at about half time and just didn't want to put myself through it. So a lot of Broncos supporters really angry, really emotional, and letting loose. So I saw a stat this morning that on the Broncos official Twitter feed, when they posted the final result, and within 2 minutes there was 100 comments, which is amazing. So many people just putting energy into something that ultimately they don't have little control. They've invested in. There's an emotional investment. Of course, I understand that. But ultimately, they have a little control. So what does all this mean? There was emotion, anticipation, anxiety in and around two things that I had no control over. The Boomers game and the Lions game. I wasn't out there playing. I wasn't out there making decisions. I'm a fan. I'm invested. I've got that emotional investment. So I'm enjoying the moment for what it is, but I'm not investing in it any further. Ultimately, it's an acceptance of, we played well. Good stuff. There might have been one or two poor decisions during the course of the game, out of my hands, out of my control. I accept that and I move on. And I move on gratefully that I was able to watch such a good game of basketball and such a good game of Australian football. In relation to the supercars, the debacle probably should never have happened. Okay. I have my thoughts around where that debacle, whose fault that was. But ultimately, once again, outside of my hands. And it actually benefited the person that I probably follow in that line of sport. So once again, why invest energy in that? I laugh at it. But once again, online, everyone's putting energy in. And the Broncos aren't my side. The Dragons are my side. And the Dragons have had the worst season on record. So I've long tolerated failure from that particular football team. So once again, invested emotionally. It would have been nice to have seen the Broncos put more of an effort outside of my control. So ultimately, I wasn't going to put myself through that. But so many Bronco players, supporters and fans are angry, and ultimately, I'm not sure. I understand that they are angry, but I'm just wondering where their energy is best placed. Because being angry at the Broncos isn't going to help you achieve your goals, be the best husband, be the best father, be the best partner. Whatever the case may be the best worker, be the best manager. Your anger is going to be somewhere else. Your energy is going to be somewhere else. Now, the two things I had control over, my 5K run and my 21K run, was 100% me. And it was only my mindset. And so the 5K run I really didn't want to do. I woke up quite stiff and sore. But my mindset is what enabled me to get up there and get going. And once I got going, then it was just my choice on where I focused my mind and my thoughts and my energy. And it was on, the completion of the process. We were running in one of our favourite areas. And on Sunday, same again, we ran along the Brisbane River from pretty much, Newstead all the way through to South Brisbane. So beautiful run right along the river. And so many things to see and so many people to see. So, of course, that helps with the concept of variety and energy. But the way I finished that, the way I started that, the way I ran during that, all up here. And this is where the energy is created. So I want you to ask yourself as you head into the week, where are you putting energy where you're going to get no return? Because ultimately, if you're putting energy, if you're investing energy in areas where you have no control and ultimately you'll get no return, you've got to ask yourself, why am I doing that? Why am I doing that? Yes, it's good to support teams. As you can see, I support a couple of them. I enjoy my sport. I enjoy my rugby league. I enjoy my AFL. I enjoy watching Supercars. But and it's good to get caught up in the moment. It's good to have that investment in there. It's good to be passionate about the team. But ultimately, once it's done, it's done. Don't leave the energy in a game that you have no control over. Don't keep investing energy into that. The game's over. Move on. Get on to something else that's much more important in your life. Get on to achieving your goals. Get on to doing the right thing for your family and your partners. I hope you've taken something away from this. This is Monday, the 16th of September. It's all about our energy flow this week. Let's talk about energy all week. I'm really happy that you stop by and you watch this. Don't forget the golden rule. Don't be an arsehole. And I shall see you all tomorrow. Bye. Hey there. Good morning. How are we all? Apologies for yesterday. I missed our Facebook Live. I was spending the morning over with some really inspirational businesses over there at North Stradbroke Island. It's always a pleasure to surround yourself with people who want to learn, who want to grow, and happy to ask questions and take on advice and get thoughts. So to those businesses over at Stratty, thanks awesomely, because that helps energize me when I'm around people who are what we might call coachable, who will take some advice, we blend in, we ask some questions, we put in some brainstorming, some fresh ideas, and we come up with solutions and actions. And I think that that's always important when it comes to growth in our lives. Today, I had the pleasure of emceeing a business breakfast here in Redland City. It was a combined breakfast event with the Redland City Chamber of Commerce and some Rotary clubs, some local Rotary clubs. And Rotary is an international organisation. We had a packed room, well over 120 people were in the room. And I had the enormous pleasure to be the MC. And today I want to share with you just a little bit around thoughts and anxiety and nerves and how we can harness that into an energy that's going to make us better or achieve better results. So this morning I was really conscious. It was a partnership event. It was the Chamber, as I was saying, and a Rotary Club. It was big. There was a lot of new people there in the audience that new to the Chamber. So it was a big deal. We needed it to go pretty smoothly. And as the MC, I needed to be succinct, clear, but leave the way for the guest speakers to provide their insight back to the business audience. To say I was nervous and a little bit anxious is probably a bit of an understatement. And I think when you are accustomed to public speaking or being a public speaker or doing MC work, for example, the minute you lose your nerves is probably a bad thing, because to me that would almost indicate things like complacency or comfort. And so if I'm nervous before an event, or if I'm a little bit anxious that it's all going to go smoothly, I see that as a good thing, because ultimately when I step up on stage, I want to be harnessing the power of that anxiety and that nerves, and I want to channel that into a very strong focus on the delivery from what it is that I'm doing. So no waffle, no bullshit, no beating around the edges, clear focus. And one of the reasons why I found that works. So I'm taking nerves and I'm taking a little bit of anxiousness and I'm turning that into a focus. And one of the reasons why I think that works is because when we focus, we create emotion, we create feeling, we create a motivating force. So for me to be able to channel away the nerves, take it on board, that focus in on what I can control, what I can do, by creating that focus, I'm creating an emotion that's going to help me succeed. And today was no different. Once I took the stage, and you've got 120 people in the room, and they're all enjoying their coffee and their chat, so the level of noise is pretty strong. For me to be able to grab that microphone and to bring, firstly, the noise down, secondly, get people in their seats, through a series of concentrated, focused efforts, is one of the first judgments that I have when I'm going through, one of the first measures, one of the first milestones that I have whenever I'm emceeing an event. I always look to, how do I bring this to order quickly, effectively? And sometimes that means that I'll focus in on people that I know. I'll put it out there. I'll mention names of people, etc., etc. And not necessarily, John, I need you to sit down, but it's along the lines of, I can see John starting to move. That's really good. Well done, John. And so it helps that focus, and it helps the audience focus in on what it is that we're about to start. The other thing that I just want to talk about is, as you're going through and emceeing an event or anything, I mean, you could do this this happens with your clients, it happens in your life, it happens in your business. Nothing ever goes smoothly. Right? We know that. Life's life. It's always going to throw up some curveballs. So one of the things that you have to do is conserve a little bit of ad hoc energy there for when you need it. So there have been times where I've emceed an event or I've spoken at an event, and you can just feel the room is not interested. And, you need to dip into something that's even stronger than what you usually deliver to get the room focused in so that they can learn. And that can be a real challenge. If you've expanded all your energy and nervous energy or anxiety, it's really challenging then to find that little bit of extra that you need to create the message, or to send the message, or to communicate the message, or to create the learning for the audience to have. So how do you do that when things go awry for you? Do you have that little bit of extra in reserve? Do you know what that looks like? Because when we need to kick it up to create the learning, we need to kick it up. Hey, I hope you have a fantastic day. I'm just about to jump in the car, head up the Sunshine Coast. And I love being up the Sunshine Coast. Got a fantastic client up there that I love spending time with. He's got a fantastic idea that we're developing as part of his business model. Really looking forward to it. And then this evening, I've got a startup event where it's just so exciting to see people pitching their startup ideas. I think it's fantastic, and it's energizing as well. So think about today, how can you harness that little bit of reserve energy that we need when we need it, and what are you doing to refresh yourself and create some energy around you? You know the golden rule, don't be an arsehole, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Hey there and good morning. It's Thursday, the 19th of September. And today I just want to talk about energy vampires and places, things, circumstances that actually drain our energy. Now, yesterday, after our Facebook Live, and, I had the business breakfast, I then met a client up the coast. And by the time I had finished, I was really drained of energy, really drained. I just felt exhausted, to be honest. And I still had another event to go to. I still had a startups event out here in Redland City. So that evening, and I knew that I was going to be meeting some people there that and being in an environment that reinvigorates you, because it's inspiring to see people chasing their dream and working around and developing ideas for their business. But it still didn't stop me from feeling drained about 3 o'clock on the drive home. I've got a 90-minute drive, and it was really quite draining and tiring. And I really started to think about what are some of the energy draining things that occur in our life. Why do people why is it that some people just don't find the energy? So we know, for example, that it's a good thing to be exercising on a daily basis. It's a good thing. Yet many people will continue to say they don't have the time or they don't have the energy. And ultimately, when you don't have the time, it actually means you don't have the energy. So I started to think about, why am I feeling like this? Why am I like this today? Why am I a bit challenged from an energy level? And I started to think about, there's a couple of things. There's a couple of things that will always make it hard for us if we're not doing some things right. So first up is our food. Now, of course, most people enjoy their food, and let's face it, it's something that we need to survive. But when we're eating the wrong food, that can have a real effect on ourselves from our own health and our own energy levels. So, and this is not about drinking 10 cups of coffee a day. This is not about having your cans of V on your way to work. That would be indicative of the fact that you're not getting enough energy, or you're not driving enough energy through what it is that you're eating. So it is about having that healthy, balanced diet. It's about having the mantra that our food is there for survival, not food for fuel, so to speak, as opposed to food for the sake of it. So many people I know get bored, get depressed, and pig out on a pack of chips. Now, that sort of food intake is not going to be serving you well in the long term. It's okay as a temporary treat every now and again, but if you're pigging out on a packet of chips or a block of chocolate or sculling down a 2-litre bottle of Coke on a daily basis to get through the day, that's not serving you well. We know that. So food and the energy, the intake that we have with our food, is one of the major reasons why we sometimes will feel drained and void of life. So have a look at your fuel intake. So my fuel intake most days is relatively good, but on some days I don't have a great deal of control over it. So I think part of my draining from energy yesterday was about what I actually had for breakfast as opposed to what I usually have for breakfast. So the other aspect that one of the other aspects that we will often feel drained is when we don't get enough sleep. Now, I know when that alarm goes off, and for me it's at 20 to 5 every morning. When that alarm goes off, sometimes it's the last thing that we want to be doing is getting up and getting ready and facing the day. And it's even more difficult if you haven't had what we would consider a good night's sleep. You may have gone to bed late, you may have tossed and turned, you may have had something on your mind. So the quality of our sleep really does affect us from an energy level. Now, grabbing those extra 15 minutes of a morning is probably not going to do you a great deal of good, in all honesty. But it's about getting into those sleep habits, that routine before we go to sleep, staying off things like our screens, going through some routine work, and some routines about going to bedtime, being in a quiet space. I listen to an app called Omvana, which enables me just to relax completely. So it's about getting into a routine that's going to enable you to get some quality of sleep, to be able to shut off our mind, to be able to go places that we need to go, and to be able to rest and relax and actually get recuperative sleep as opposed to fitful sleep. And of course, if you're going to bed too late, not getting enough sleep, there's usually a really easy answer for that, is to go to bed earlier. So because ultimately you need to get some sleep to be energized to face the day. One of the other things that we face in challenging when it comes to being drained of energy is our stress levels. So you may come home from work, you're bringing work with you. People in their own business will often be working, ridiculous hours all over the place. And we're carrying that stress level and as in relation to that, things like our cortisone levels increase. And so we've got to find a way that we can reduce and relieve some of that stress. And this is where exercise and having some really healthy coping mechanisms can come into play. Just simply going for a walk when you get home from work, taking your dog for a walk, or going for a walk yourself, putting on some music, putting on a podcast, putting on some self-development stuff while you're out walking. Those are things that have been known to help us recharge and refresh. Getting out in the sunshine during the course of the day is also, there's nothing worse than sitting in an office all day. So if you get the opportunity, get outside, feel the sun, feel the wind. And these are things that can help us cope with those stress levels. Otherwise, you're sitting in it. You're sitting in the problem all day. And then you're bringing that problem home. And probably the last area of energy draining vampires, so to speak, are people. Some of the people we work with, love, have in our family, are close with, can be very draining. And it's about understanding that for ourselves, not in a mean, harsh way, but understanding that some people need to be taken in short doses, in small doses. And that's just part of our reality. Really, it is. It's part of our reality. Understand that and plan for that. Because in all of those areas, food, sleep, stress, and people, there are ways that we can actually utilize that to be more effective in our life and to have more energy. So obviously eating the right foods is a really good start. Getting enough sleep, quality sleep is another good way. Being able to relieve our stress and get outside of our stress and have that stress relief come off our shoulders. And to be able to understand the people where we regenerate energy. What are those events? What are those environments? Where do you need to be to get that rejuvenation of energy? Because there's some people in our life that we love being with. They energize us, they motivate us, they inspire us. And then there's the other type that drain us. So in all of those areas that are problems, there's benefits and, there's strategies that we can have to make sure that they're working for us. I hope you have a fantastic Thursday. I hope that whatever you do, you don't end up drained, mentally exhausted, physically. Today, I hope that you really look at those energy levels and say, how can I maintain my fresh approach to the day during the course of the day? The golden rule, don't be an arsehole, and I shall see you all tomorrow.